Okay, all right. Good evening once again. And good evening to those of us that are just joining us. We started by 8:30, but we had to give a grace of 5 minutes to those of us that were yet to join. So that's the only grace we can give this night because we have a lot of ground to cover this night. So we'll be diving straight right in. I hope we all have our data sets open. We're going to be continuing from where we stopped last 2 weeks. Okay, so before I go ahead, for those of us that were able to submit our assignments, I was able to see everybody's assignment. For all those that partook in the assignment, I got everybody's assignment and I was able to review and grade over the weeks. I would say everybody tried, at least many people put in the effort, but some of us are still having difficulties understanding the functionalities beyond some of the charts. So last week we stopped at the charts. We were taking the charts one by one, and I believe we covered bar charts. We covered the two bar charts. We also talked about the line chart, and we also talked about pie charts. So today we are going to continue from that this week. We're going to continue from the chart. So what we're going to be doing this week, we're going to finish up our charts, and then I'm going to teach you how to use slicers. They are an advanced form of filtering in Excel. And lastly, we are going to build our first dashboard from all the charts that we have created. We're going to be building our first dashboard. So for tonight, the data set we'll be using, I believe everybody already have it. That's the data set we used for the assignment. That's the data set we used for the assignment, the road accident data set. So that is what we'll be using this evening. So let me just convert mine to a pivot table so I can build my charts. Just hold on.
Hello, sir. Hello. Hello.
Okay, all right. So
Hello.
please, if you're on mute, please mute. I've muted everybody. I don't know how you are mute the person speaking, but please mute yourself so that you don't disturb the rest of the class, please. All right. So
I want to clarify. I want to clarify something. Last week we didn't have class last week. The pie chart said we did. We have not done them.
okay, all right. So let's go ahead, guys. So this is my pivot table right now. Like I said, we're just going to continue from where we stopped last week. So let me just get some values in. Let me just get some values in. So for the charts, we stopped at pie charts last week. So I'm just going to continue from bar charts. I'm going to take it from bar charts. So this is our bar chart. But remember, when the assignment I gave you guys, I was asking you to filter most of these states by top 10 or top 5, whichever way it is. So I think we should all be able to still remember that and do that. You come to your filter here and then you choose top 10. And then you can filter it based on whatever numbers you want to fill. I'm filtering by top 5 so that I'll be able to, okay. So I said after filtering, the next thing for you is to sort. So you sort your data according to smallest largest or largest to smallest. This was one of the issues where many people went wrong. Yes, you were able to get this, you were able to filter your data according to top 5 or top 10, whichever the case, but many people didn't sort their data. And if you're not sorting your data when you're building your graph wouldn't be aligned. They won't follow an hierarchy. They will be scattered. So when you sorted it, you will see your graphs is either they are in an ascending format or they are what in a descending format. So you need to sort your graph after every filtering. Okay, so now let me build a bar chart. I think I did this last week, but I did it last 2 weeks, but I'm just going to do it again just to start off from here. So this is a bar chart. When you click on it, another thing I noticed in many people's assignments was everybody was restricting themselves to just these two types of charts. just these two type of chart. They were very, very rare people that actually chose a line chart. A line chart is also a visual representation of your data. It is not, like I said earlier, when we are building dashboards, we are not graphic designers. So we are not looking for the graphs that is final or the graphs that look so good. A line graph is also a good visual representation of your data because it's going to show you what your data means. So we don't need to restrict ourselves to either column charts or pie charts or bar charts this time around. Also, from the assignment, for those of us that were using bar charts, remember what I said. I said it is good. Bar chart is a very, very good representation to represent your data. But I said whenever you want to use a bar chart, please restrict it. Whenever you want to use a bar chart, please restrict it to just 2 or 3 information. Please restrict your bar chart, your pie chart, right, at this time around. Restrict it to at most 3 different pieces of information. Once is more than 3, once is more than 4, it keeps breaking it into so many colors. And when you are presenting this data to a large audience, you need to take your audience into cognizance when you are presenting your data. Some of your audience might even be color blind, that they don't even understand the colors. They mix up the colors. Some who are not even data blind don't even know which one is light blue, which one is dark blue. So when you are using a pie chart and it's dividing into multiple colors, you're already losing your audience. So instead of you using a pie chart, you can always use a line chart. So let me use a line chart here because not so many people, there were so little few people that actually use line charts in their assignment. It's a very, very good and reasonable chart to use. So when you have a line chart for you, so what is this chart telling me? You can see Kaduna is the highest and then is descending down to Niger State, which has the lowest in this chart. So you just do the same things that we've been doing in all other, you do the same thing you've been doing in all other charts. You can start by removing your field buttons. You can remove your grid lines. You can remove your grid lines. You can remove your grid lines. You can remove your legend since you're only representing one data, and then you can change the chart title just like I taught you guys. So this is Fatal Acts top five states. So 5 states with fatal accidents. Another thing that most of us also failed to do when I was reviewing and marking the assignment was our chart title. Some people had chart titles up, but they couldn't. Some people created a chart, yes, but they didn't add a chart title. The chart title was not there. So when I was looking at the chart, it was very, very hard for me to actually know what they were describing. So it is best practice when you are building your chart, always have your chart titled, just like I did here. Okay. All right. So I wouldn't be talking about the chart elements since we've done most of that. I'll just be talking about the different chart types so that we can cover a lot of ground. So this time around, I'll be moving to some charts. If you click on a chart like tree map, if you click on a chart like tree map, before we go to tree map, there's an area chart. It is similar to line. There's an area chart, but it is similar to line. The only thing is when you click an area chart, you click OK, it fills in the empty spaces here. It's very, very similar to a line chart. It is very, very similar to a line chart. So this is how an area chart is going to turn up. So let us look at another chart type. Now, there are some chart types that I'm going to click on. This is radar. This, I would advise you to use this because it is it's going to be very, very hard for most audiences to actually understand this radar chart. So you can actually use a simpler chart for that. I'm going to come back to a map chart later. But there are charts, for example, there are charts like tree map, Sunburst, histogram, box and wicker, waterfall, funnel, and combo. They are not going to work. And the reason why they're not going to work is when you click on a chart like tree map, and then you're reading the caption, you're reading something like, it's telling us that it can't create this chart type inside a pivot table. So that means pivot table do not work for charts like this. From tree map downwards, you won't get your pivot table to work with charts like that. Please, before I continue, if you can hear me, so I'm getting some complaints of my line breaking, but if you can hear me and you can see my screen, please just take time out to go to the comment section and comment "I can," so that I'll know that majority of everyone here is actually following. Please, if you can hear me clearly to this point, and if you can see my screen, please go to the comment section and comment "I can." Okay, all right, so we can continue. So as I was saying, from 3 map downwards, we have like 6 or 7 charts here. They are not going to work with your pivot tables. They have a marked difference in the sense that column, pie, bar, and the likes works fine with your pivot tables. But you see, from 3 map downwards here, they are not going to work with your pivot table. But they are also actually good charts that we can use. But how can we use them when they are not working with a pivot table? Now I am going to show you how to do that. Let me delete this. Now, for those charts that don't work with a pivot table, what you need to do is you need to copy out your data. Copy out your data from the pivot table. Copy out your data from the pivot table and copy it onto your workbook. You copy it onto your range, anywhere in your workbook. So what I just did here is I just selected these 2 columns, the state column and the fatal values. I copied them out and I pasted them on my workbook. So now let us go back and see if we can use those charts right now. As you can see now, what is highlighted is the values on the workbook, not on the pivot table anymore. The pivot table is no longer highlighted. So those charts will begin to function this time around. Sorry, let me go to the charts. So right now, 3 map, when we click on 3 map, you can see now the 3 map chart is active just because I took away that data from the pivot table and I just copied it plainly on my workbook. So the functionality of the 3 map comes up. The functionality of the 3 maps comes up. Now, this is how the 3 map looks like. It represents your data according to color and according to sizes. Now, once I click OK, when I click OK, now this is how a 3 map looks like. Like I said, it represents your data according to color and their sizes. Kaduna has the highest fatal accident here. That is why Kaduna has the biggest share of the rectangle. You can see Kaduna is in blue and it has the biggest share of the rectangle, followed by Ogun State, which is big but still is smaller than Kaduna, followed by FCT, and then Oyo and Niger. You can see the lower the numbers go, the smaller your rectangle become. The lower the numbers go, the smaller your rectangle become. So anybody seeing this know that, oh, okay, the bigger share of the rectangle belongs to the bigger number, which is Kaduna. And it is also dividing it into colors, just like a pie chart. You can see your legends here. Your legends are at the top. You can change the position where your legends are by coming to chart elements. I've taught you guys all this. I can decide to put it on my right, and then my elements come here. But please don't forget what I taught you about every single chart. You must rename your chart title. So if I want to rename my chart title here, I can just come here and say, okay, top 5 states, just like I did with the previous chart. Top 5 states. Top 5 states with fatal accidents. So this is a 3 map for you. It is only going to work when you copy out your data from the pivot table and you copy it to the spreadsheet. So now let us move on and try another data type. Let us move on and try another data type. So this is a 3 map. So now Sunburst is the next one. Sunburst. This is how it looks like. Many people, when you are seeing it, it's very, very similar to a pie chart or a donut chart. It's very, very similar, but it's actually different. They look alike, but it's actually different. So when you click on the Sunburst, let us click OK and then see what we get in the Sunburst. So this is a Sunburst. It is also a very, very good chart to use. You can see the larger share belongs to Kaduna, and the smallest share belongs to Niger State. So the only thing I'm going to teach you here in chart elements, we've already covered all these chart elements, is the data labels. Right now, each slice of this whole wheel figure, of this whole round figure, each slice is named accordingly to the states. But that's not what we want. We want our values to actually show, not the states, because we're already having the state showing as a legend. So we only want the values to show on the slices. So you can come to the data labels section here, click on more data values and labels, and then you can see here category name is clicked. I remove it from category name and then I put value. You can see right now it is the value that is there this time around, not the name of the state, because you don't need the name of the state to be there because you already have the name of the state showing as a legend. You already have the name of the state showing as a legend. Please, if you cannot hear me, I will advise you to maybe log out, log in and log back in, because majority are saying they can hear me. But let me see if I can make some corrections here. If you cannot let me, please, if you cannot hear me, please check your network. You can log back, you can log out and log in back and see if it's better. So okay, all right. So back to our chart. So this is a sunburst right now. So this is good to go. This is perfect. But please always remember what I'm telling you about slices like this. The more the color, the more confusing your chart will become, because there are so many colors and people will be finding it difficult to keep up with the colors. So charts like this, restrict them to at most 3 or 4 slices. When it's getting more than 4, you're already going to lose people and it becomes difficult for them to actually follow you when you are presenting your chart. Okay, so let us check the functionality of another chart. We've checked 3, 4, we've checked tree map and sunburst. So now let us check. Okay, all right, guys. Okay, so let's continue. So as I was saying, this is an histogram. It is not an accurate representation of our data in the sense that we are not seeing majority of our series, we are not seeing the states, and we are not seeing the values. So though I am showing you that this is an histogram data, but I wouldn't advise you to use an histogram when you're actually trying to represent most of your data. I would advise you to use an histogram when you are representing most of your data. So let us move on now and check another data type and see. Okay, this is a waterfall. This is a waterfall chart. This is a waterfall chart. You can all see right now, okay, we are this is actually a good representation also, in the sense that it's showing us a box that is attached to each of these states. We have Kaduna, Ogun, FCT, Oyo, and Niger labeled on one axis, and then we already have these states also. But this kind of charts, this waterfall charts, it works mostly when you are working with maybe financial data, when you have to show an increase or a decrease in value. Now watch me. I am going to manipulate my data. Let me go back to my data. I am going to manipulate my data and apply a negative value to like 2 or 3 of them, and then you will see what will happen. Let me try to apply a negative value to this. So right now, you all can see what happened here. When I converted some of the numbers, what I did right now was Kaduna, I just put a -2 sign. Minus 772 is different from 772. So right now it is a negative sign. FCT is also in the negative, and Niger State is also in the negative. So when I did that, you could see it changed the direction of those bars. Right now, Kaduna, FCT, and Niger State, they are all pointing downwards. you can see where their labels is. Their labels is pointing downwards. You can see 772. Look at where my mouse is hovering. You can see it is all pointing downwards. Minus 610, minus 445. The bars are pointing forward. While those ones that are actually in the positive sign, they are pointing upwards. You can see Ogun and Oyoye, they are actually pointing upwards. And if you look at our legends here, blue represents an increase in numbers. So it's telling you where anywhere there is a blue is actually an increase, is a positive number. And then the orange this time around is representing a decrease. So anywhere you see an orange, it is what is a negative number. So charts like this, we call it the waterfall. Charts like this are always almost good when you are working with financial data or profit and loss data, where you have to show values that are actually appreciating or values that are actually depreciating, maybe values in the positive values and negative values. So this is a very, very good chart to use when you are working with data like that. So please, at this junction, I'm still getting some complaints from few people regarding my audio. Please, if you can hear the audio, I just need majority to be able to get the audio. So we'll know if it's from my end or from those people. So if you can hear me clearly, kindly go to the comment section and comment I can again. I know you've done that, but please, we need this so that we can actually know that everything is good from my end. Okay, so I think majority can still hear me. So please just try to re-log in. Please just try to re-log in, and then I think it will be fine. So okay, we can continue. Now we can continue from that. Okay. So now let us check another chart functionality. This is a waterfall chart, and I've told you what it represents. The next one is a funnel chart. The next one is a funnel chart. But before I do that, please let me remove the minus signs. Let me remove the minus signs from this data. You can see as I'm removing the minus signs, it's taking it back to a positive value, to a positive chart. Okay, all right. So let me go ahead and change this chart type to another one. The funnel chart this time around. Funnel chart. We call this a funnel chart because it is like a funnel. It's like a funnel. It's funneling down. You can see it's starting with the top. It's starting with the top and then is going down like that. So we're having Kaduna starting off and we're having Niger State also rounding up. So this is a funnel chart. It is a very, very good chart to actually use to represent your data. So the what you can actually do here, you can just remove your legend because you don't need legend. It's only one. And you can see our title is already there. And then this is good to go. It's good for representing your data in the sense that they show hierarchy from the top to the bottom because your data is already sorted. This is one of the reasons why you need to sort your data. If you hadn't sorted your data and then you're using a funnel chart, it will be scattered in the sense that you'll be seeing a very, very large line. It will just be all over the place. So once you sort your data, it's going to appear. It is going to appear like this. Okay. All right. So let me see if there's another chart we haven't covered so far. Okay, I wanted to talk about the map charts. The map charts. Now let me remove this. Let me bring this back. Now, according to the name, the map chart is supposed to show you the information based on a map. It's going to show you the information based on a map. Right now, this information that we have here they are information from all the states of the country and the fatal accidents that each of them already have. So instead of them being represented on all these charts that we've been showing so far, the bar chart, the funnel chart, the pie chart, the sunburst, and so on and so forth, they are going to be shown as on the map. They are going to be shown on a map. So that is what we are going to, well, that's what we are going to try to recreate now for our data to actually show on a map. So what do we do? So the same thing applies to these other maps I told you. A map chart is not going to work in a pivot table. A map chart is not going to work in a pivot table. So you need to copy out your data. You need to copy out your data and copy it on your workbook. Copy out your data and copy it on your workbook. So from here, you can actually get the map chart functionality. So you go to insert, and then you click the map chart. And then you click on OK. As we all can see here, this is a map of Nigeria, or of Africa rather, and then is highlighting Nigeria in. You can see Nigeria is somewhere here. So let me see if I can. Okay, so I made this a little bigger. Let me see if I can. You can also apply other functionalities to these charts, just the way we've been doing. I want to include my data labels. So you can see this is a simple map chart. In the sense that now we are having the map of the country and the state accordingly. Let me make it a bit bigger. So you can see it is applying those data labels accordingly to where all the states are. For example, this state that has 69 is somewhere here. So which state could that be? Okay, so this is Borno here. This is Borno here. And then we're having 681. We're having an Ogun State right here. You can see not all of them are showing. Those ones that are actually very, very low in number are not quite showing. And it's because the chart map is very, very big. It requires a very large space. So that's why we are not getting everything showing. But this is how a map chart is going to be showing. You say that you show a map of the area. It could be other countries. It could be other countries. Now, somebody is asking me if internet is required for a map chart. Yes, I think an internet connection is required to a map chart, because it's going to ask you to actually connect. This map is being downloaded from the internet. Do you understand? So I think an internet connection is actually good for you to create a map chart. But never to worry. If you don't have an internet connection, everything that is here can also be represented on the other charts that we have talked about. So this brings us to the conclusion of all the charts that we can use in analyzing data in Microsoft Excel. So right now, that is going to take me to the next thing on the agenda today. We are going to be talking about slicers. So what are slicers? Slicers, the English, those of you thinking sliced bread and something, is the same. It is the same spelling. Slicers. So slicers in Excel, please, for those of you asking questions, please write your question down and let us wait till the end of the class. I'm seeing your questions. I'm going to take them at the end of the class. I can always redo what you missed. But so that we don't slow our progress, let us wait for the end of the class till we start asking and answering questions. Okay, so I said I was going to teach you about slicers. So what do we mean? What do we know? What does slicers do in Microsoft Excel? So slicers are an advanced form of filtering in Microsoft Excel. Slicers are advanced form of filtering in Microsoft Excel. So for example, maybe I have this chart. Okay, let me just filter it the way we know. Let me get a top 10. Let me get a top 10 for this. And then let me build a chart. Let me build a chart with this. Let me just build a simple bar chart. Okay, all right, let me sort it from largest to smallest or smallest to largest. Okay, let me make it like this. All right, so let me build another pivot table. Let me build another pivot table showing something else. Maybe this time around, I'm going to be showing the number of people killed. And I'm just going to be showing maybe top 10 again for that state for this top 10. Let me insert a chart. Let me make it a column chart this time around and just have an okay here. A column chart this time around. So now I want to use slicers. I want to apply slicers. Like I said, slicers are advanced filtering. They allow you to filter based on multiple conditions. So right now, where do I get my slicers? Once you are clicked on your pivot table, on your pivot chart, once you create a chart and you click on a chart, you're going to see a functionality. Please look at where my mouse is. You're going to see a functionality called pivot chart analyze. Once you are clicked on a chart, not on a pivot table, once you are clicked on a chart, you're going to get a function called pivot chart analyze. So when you click on it, that is where you get your slicer option. That is where you get your slicer option. Now I'm clicking on it. If you all can read the caption it's giving us, it's telling us that use a slicer to filter data visually. Slicers make it faster and easier to filter tables, pivot charts, and so on and so forth. So let me click. So when you click a slicer, so it's going to ask you some few questions. Now, if you guys remember our data set, these are all the headings we have in our data set. We have state, country, year. If you all have forgotten, this is what I'm talking about. Let me go back there. These are all our headings in this row 1 here. We have state, country, fatal, serious, minor, and the likes, up to people involved. When we are creating a slicer, those are the headers that is going to ask you that which of them do you want as a slicer. You can see right now I have clicked on my slicer and it's asking me which of these headers do I actually want to make as a slicer. Okay, let me click here as a slicer. Remember, in this data set, it is made up of 3 years, 2021, 2022, and 2023. So this whole data that we are seeing is a summation of all those years. So I want to use my year as a slicer. So I click only year and I click on OK. So
it's this boss.
He's back now. He's back, I guess. He's back.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, sorry for the break in transmission. I had to quickly switch my network to something else, so I wouldn't be having all those breaks anymore. So before we just go ahead, please let's take 10 seconds to go to the comment section. Please, if you can see my screen and hear me, it's very, very important. I know this. If you can see my screen and hear me, please just kindly comment "I can" on the comment section so I know the majority of us are actually following. If you can see my screen, okay, all right. Thank you for those of us that are sending in those messages. So I stopped at slicers. I'm going to repeat myself. I said slicers are advanced filtering. They allow you to filter your data based on multiple conditions. So I said, how do you get your slicers? How do you get your slicers? You click on your chart. You make sure you click on your chart, whatever the chart may be, you click on your chart. And then you come to pivot chart analyze. Once you click on the chart, you're going to have a functionality called pivot chart analyze. So you click on it, and that is where you get, once you click on it, that is where you get the option to choose a slicer, to insert your slicer rather. So we insert our slicer, and then we have our headers, all the headers in our original data set. We have all our headers present here. So you choose which one you actually want to use to filter. You choose which one you actually want to filter. And please mind you, you can choose multiple filters. You can choose multiple filters. But for now, let me choose one filter. I will choose multiple filters later and tell you how that one works too. So for now, I'm choosing a year. I'm choosing year as my slicer this time around. And then I click on OK. So we can all see how a slicer is. You can see it is showing me what exactly is in the year. So that means we have 3 years worth of data in this our data set. We have 2021, 2022, and 2023. So what this data is telling me is that I can actually visualize my data based on these 3 years. Ladies and gentlemen, please watch what I'm going to do right now. Just let me sort this. So right now, this data is sorted from lowest to largest. And I said, everything we are seeing on this chart now is a combination of 2021, 2022, 2023. But what if I want to know the total number of people that were actually killed in one particular year? Remember, I said it is showing the total number of people killed for 2021, 2022, and 2023. But what if I just want to know the total number of people killed in 2022? This is where your slicers come into play. Before you have to do that, before you now choose 2022, I know so many of us are eager for me to go ahead and choose 2022. Before I do choose 2022, I have to connect my slicer to this chart. Right now, there's a slicer here. This is a slicer. And this is a chart. I have to connect the two so that they interact with each other. I have to connect the two so that they interact with each other. So how do I do that? Once my slicer is out, I right-click on it. You can see where my mouse is at the header here. I right-click on my slicer. And then I'm going to come here and look for report connections. Let me do that again. I right-click on my slicer. And then I come to what? Report connections. I click on it. So right now, it's telling me to, now look at what it's telling me. It said, select a pivot table and a pivot chart for reports to connect to this filter. That means I have to select my pivot table, the pivot table that I want connected to this filter. I have to select it. One is already connected, but I have two. Remember, please let me go back. Remember, I have a pivot table here too. And I have a pivot table here too. I want to connect two of them to this filter. So like I said, I right-click, and then I come to report connections, and then I click all the pivot tables there. You can see I have pivot table 2 and pivot table 7, and then I click on what? OK. So right now, I can actually now go and select the year I want. So please, when I select 2022, please, all of you should take a look at the chart. Keep your eye on the chart. Selecting 2022, please, who can quickly observe to in the comment chat what happened? Now I'm clicking another year, 2021. In 2021, okay, to make this easier, let me apply data labels. Let me apply data labels and get rid of our grid lines so that everybody will follow. So right now, I'm back. Right now, this is how it was. This is all the years. This is all the years selected. 2021, 2022, 2023 are years selected. I have not chosen one particular year. Now, I want to choose a particular year now. Before I choose that, please, everybody should take note of this data. Let me sort it by smallest to largest. Largest to smallest, rather. Everybody should take note of this data because Kaduna has the highest with 1,697. And the Nasarawa has the lowest with 607 across those 3 years. So now let me choose one particular year. Let me start with 2021. Now, we can see our data has changed in the sense that Kaduna this time has 677, not 1,607 this time around. It has 677, and Nasarawa's number 2 has changed. Every single person has changed because right now, this data is only showing values for the year 2021 because that is what I chose on my slicer. It is only showing values for the year 2021 because that is what I chose on my slicer. Now, let me choose another year, and then you're going to see another change. This is 2022. Right now, I've chosen 2022. Right now, the values for Kaduna has also changed, 680. And even the values with the lowest figure has changed. Right now, it's no longer Nasarawa. It is now Kwara. Kwara now has the lowest figures at 237. Now, let me choose 2023 this time around. we can see Kaduna is still in the lead with 340 this time around. But even the state with the lowest number has changed again, making it Ondo, no longer Kwara or Nasarawa, making it Ondo with 126. So I hope I hope this easily explains the functionality of a slicer. You can see it allows you to, our slicer was originally built with just states and the number of people killed. Our chart rather was just built with states and the number of people killed. But because I added a slicer, I was able to even now analyze it further. I was able to take it a step further by analyzing it based on the years. So what I'm seeing in this chart is I am seeing the number of people that were killed across these states in these years. In these years. Let me take you to the second chart. Let me take you to the second chart and put my slicer back there. It's the same slicer. I just copied it and pasted it. It's the same slicer. Please hold on while I move that. Please hold on. Let me copy that again. Okay. So right now, this is the second pivot table we built. Now, this one is for the fatal accidents in the top 10 states with the highest number of fatal accidents. Let us see if our slicer is going to appear. It's going to work for these two. You can see our values are changing. This is 2022. If you're noticing them, let me put my data labels here and get rid of this grid line so we can see very well. This is 2022 data. Kaduna has 288 fatal cases. In 2023, it's no longer Kaduna this time around. It's FCT with 186 cases. And then in 2021, we have Kaduna with 316. So this is the functionality of a slicer. And the reason why this one slicer is working for multiple charts is what I did earlier here. When I went to go and report the connections, and I connected the two, you can see it's just two pivot tables that are here. And I connected the two pivot tables to that slicer. If I had not connected them, it will not work. I'll just be clicking these years and they will not change. But because I was able to come here before I did anything, because I was able to connect my two pivot tables to the slicers, now they are connected. As you are clicking them, it will be reflecting your data. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the functionality of slicers. It makes you do a wider range of analysis. You can see, before we only built a chart that was showing us the fatal numbers and then the states. We didn't know that we could actually even see them across the years, but this enables us to do so. Now, remember I said we can have multiple slicers. We can have multiple slicers. So let me delete this and start all over the beginning so that I can get more than one slicer. So I can get more than one slicer. Let me just remove some of these things. Okay, all right. So now let us go back there. Like I said, if you want your slicers to be out, you need to be clicked on your charts. If you click on your pivot table, okay, all right, okay. A pivot table also gives us the ability to choose slicer. So you can click on your pivot table or your chart. You're going to be able to get your slicer functionality. Some of us are asking me if I can go right again. That is what I'm about to do. So please pay attention this time around. Pay attention this time around. I said for you to get your slicer function, this is where it is. You can see my mouse shaking. You can either click on your pivot table or you click on your charts. You will get a function called pivot chart analyze. It is right here on the menu bar. When you click on it, you'll be able to insert your slicer. So this is our insert slicer this time around. Now, I want to show us that it's possible to have multiple slicers. The first time I did it, we did one slicer. It's still the same thing that applies. Now, I want to have multiple slicers this time around. The first time I chose year. So this time I want to choose maybe state. I want to choose state. And then I click on OK. As you can see, it's giving us two slicers. I have the year, and I have the state here. I have the year as a slicer here, and I have the state here. They are both side by side right here. So remember, I said after you have created your slicers, the next thing you have to do, you have to connect your slicers. For those that didn't get me earlier, once you've created your slicers, once you've chosen what you want to use as your slicer, the next thing you have to do is to connect your slicer to your chart. You have to connect your slicer to your chart so that when you are clicking on any option in your slicer, it is reflecting in your chart. This is what makes your chart interactive. When we are building your dashboard, we are going to be also inserting these slicers there so that they interact with our data. Okay, so how do we connect our slicers to our charts this time around? So this is what you do. You come to the first slicer, and please note, you do that for each slicer. You connect one slicer each. It's not that when you do one, you've connected for all the slicers. If you're having 4 slicers, you connect each slicer individually. So now let us connect the year slicer. You right click, and then you come to what? Report connections. Report connections is going to show you this small dialog box and all the pivot tables you have. If you have 10 pivot tables, all the pivot tables is going to show here. I only have 2 because I only built 2 pivot tables. I built one for fatal, and I think I built one for I can't remember anymore unless I check it. But I built just 2 pivot tables. That is why I'm having 2 pivot tables here. So if you build 5 pivot tables, 10 pivot tables, any amount of pivot tables you build is all going to show here. But what you just need to do is you need to click on them. By default, this is how it's going to show. You can see it has a checkbox in front of each pivot table. By default, it will not be checked. It is you that will check it yourself. You click on it yourself. You make sure it is ticked. It is you that will tick it yourself. So once you've ticked it, you've already connected. Once you've ticked it, you've already connected. And then you click on what? Okay. You've done that for the year. Now let's go for the state. You repeat the same process. You right click, and then you do what? Report connections. And then you click also. You make sure your 2 charts are connected to those slicers. And then we click OK. So right now, let us use the state slicer to actually format this. So actually get some information from this chart. Okay, so if I should choose a state here, maybe Abia. Now I want to see the total fatal accidents in Abia State in the year 2021. I want to use this chart to get the sum of all the fatal accidents in Abia State in 2021. Please note, in this chart now, Abia is not even present on the chart. Abia is not even showing on the chart. But with your slicer, you're going to be able to call up the information for Abia State in 2021. So right now, let us do that. I click on Abia State, and then I click on 2021. So can you see now? So what is telling me that in the year 2021 in Abia State, we had 36 fatal cases of car accidents. What of 2022? I click on 2022, it changes. Now it's telling me it was 30. I click on 2023, it changes. Now it's telling me it was 12. This is the functionality of a slicers. This is how slicers make your chart look very, very interactive and informative. You can get a whole lot of information just from one chart using slicers. So you can see now, just from this simple chart I did, I was able to extract each state information according to year. Okay, let us check for our host state, which is the great state of Lagos. I know most of us will be interested in checking that. Even for those of us that are not in Lagos, everybody wants to know what Lagos is up to. So now let us check for Lagos. Sorry. Please hold on. Now I'm in Lagos right now. So Lagos in 2023 is telling us there were 71 cases of fatal accidents, and in 2022 there were 105 cases, and in 2021 there were 104 cases. So you can see my slicers are not enabling me to get a variety of data, a variety of insightful data that I can actually present to anyone, anywhere. So right now, if I want to get all my states back, right now, this data is only limited to Lagos. If I want to remove this filter, like I said, slicer is just advanced filtering. So if I want to remove this Lagos that is sliced out of everything, I come here. Please look at where my mouse is. This funnel and this X here. This is where you clear all your filter. Once I click on it, it's going to show me for all the states this time around. It's going to show me for all the states. And when I come to the year also, it adds all the year back. It adds all the year back. So I'm still on this state filter. What if I want to show information for 3 states? Okay, maybe I want to show the information for all southeastern states this time around. I want to show information for all southeastern states. We all know the southeastern state like Abia State, Anambra State, Enugu State, and so on and so forth. Maybe I just want to show the information for all those states. So what do? I come to my state, I click on Abia first. Then I look for the second southeastern state here. I think Anambra. I press my control. I press control and click. Because if I'm just clicking on, okay, let me remove that. If I'm just clicking without control, it's only one state is going to be selecting for me at a time. But for me to select multiple states, I click on control when I want to select the second state. Right now, I've selected Abia. Now I want to select Anambra. I click on control, the control button on the laptop without leaving it, and I select Anambra. You can see on my chart now, Anambra and Abia has been selected. Let us look for another southeastern state. If I can remember that, I think Ebonyi is a southeastern state. I select that too. Let me look for another southeastern. Enugu is another. Sorry, I've jumped. Enugu is another southeastern state. I'm sorry, guys. I can't remember my state and capital from primary school again, so I might be omitting something. I think Imo is also a southeastern state. Imo is also a southeastern state. Do we have any southeastern state down the? Let me see. I might not remember much, but I think if I see, Miss Rivers is southeastern state. I don't think they count themselves as southeastern state. Okay, let's work with these 5. Let us assume these are the 5 southeastern states that we have in the country. You can see just from these 36 states, I was able to pull out those 5. Maybe these are the 5 states I'm actually interested in working with. I was able to pull out these 5 instance states and visualize them. Right now, I'm just saying. So even if I want to name this chart, I'm not going to be naming it top 5 states. Now I'm going to be naming it top 5 southeastern states, because right now the information I'm visualizing is just for the southeast. So you can see how our slicers make most of these things possible. So right now we are even showing top 5 eastern states, and it's a combination of all these years. What if we are only interested in the year 2022 for the southeastern state? So I just click on 2022. And then we are having this one. The chart is telling us that in 2022, Enugu State had the highest fatal accident with 61, and Imo State had the lowest with 64. So you can see the endless possibilities that you have when you use a slicer along with your pivot table. Pivot table already allows us to analyze data in the sense that we're able to get the top 5 initially, but slicers even take it a step more. Slicers take it a step further in the sense that it gives you much more leeway, much more leverage over your data. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the explanation for slicers.